creative living, utilizing today's technology with the best of the past to bring you innovative ideas and up-to-date information for creative lifestyles in today's active world. With your host, Sheryl Borden.
Judy, thank you so much for being with us. I know when I sew, I know that there's a certain type of interfacing I use, and my mother quilted, and I have no idea what type of batting she used. But when I've been to the fabric stores lately, it's really rather confusing, even for someone like myself who sews. So how do you get this across to people that there's just a certain batting or product for each thing, but it doesn't have to be so confusing?
Well, I think it's important that the consumers understand that each batting has special uses, and they have different characteristics, and they lend different characteristics to each of the quilts. So if you don't mind, I'd like to show you some of them, and then it'll help, I think, folks narrow down what they'd like the quilt to look like. I want to start with the polyesters. This is a low loft polyester. What that means is it's really pretty thin. It's very lightweight, and it washes extremely well. It's beautiful, and it doesn't have any shrinkage.
So if something's going to be washed a lot, this like the quilt, this would be a great choice.
Right, and this shows tiny hand stitches beautifully. So if you're a hand quilter and you really want to showcase your stitching ability, this is the batting to do that.
Okay.
So that's just beautiful. Now
this one's a little thicker, I can tell just feeling.
This would be the extra loft, and the extra loft is slightly thicker, and it's really great for somebody who's a beginning hand quilter.
Oh, why is that?
It's because the slightly higher loft will hide the imperfections in the stitches, but will still show some stitch detail.
Some detail.
Absolutely. So, and it doesn't shrink, and the properties remain the same: lightweight, washable.
And you know, it does tell all this on the package, so I guess we should learn to read the labels.
But nothing is as good as seeing for yourself. This would be the high loft, and this is really, while all of them can be machine quilted and hand quilted, the high loft is recommended for machine quilting.
For machine quilting, especially.
Yes, or for tied quilts. Those with the little, you've seen the little threads tying them together, sort of a beginner's technique. This is a really great product for that way.
This has a great feel to it.
Doesn't it? But still lightweight.
Now, you talked about something called Loft, and just in case people might not know what we're talking about, this is a good example. This is very thin, isn't it?
Yes,
soft.
You can see that it does not have a lot of thickness to the piece itself. While as this one here, in comparison, is just a little bit thicker.
A little thicker.
And then in the high loft, you can really see
tell.
that there's a whole lot more depth to it.
I see.
And that's why it would be harder to hand needle, too.
I see, because of the extra thickness.
Right, and they're bonded, so which is why they don't fall apart.
That's nice.
Yes.
And now this one.
This is an example of a cotton. And one of the things about cotton is it will shrink 2 to 3% when you wash it for the very first time. And so it'll give it the quilt this rumply antique type look to it.
I was going to say, this looks like an antique quilt.
It does. And
that's why, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And it washes beautifully, and it will not shrink anymore after the first wash, but it will shrink that first time you wash it and give it that nice antique heirloom type look to it.
And you said that there are different types of cotton batting, but the point is this is cotton. These are polyester.
Correct. And with the cottons, like with the Cotton Classic here, this is an organic cotton batting, but it is also bonded, and you can feel that that's the way the fibers are held together, and you can see that there's a top and bottom to the batting, and it can actually be pulled apart if you wanted something very thin.
Sandwiched.
Yes, so that's the bonding on the top is what gives it that characteristic. Feels a little rough, but it's quilts up beautifully and will give that same look. Works really well for art quilts. Quilters really like it.
And wall hangings and things like that, I bet.
Clothing
would be nice.
Too, because cotton breathes.
Oh,
So we also have a couple of others that are the natural cotton, which is an unbleached. It's needle punched, and that's how that's held together with tiny barbs actually tangle the fibers together to hold the batting into a sheet. Same here with the soft touch. The soft touch here is a bleached cotton, which is really great for white work like that, where you don't have.
This is a little
this is going to make
or ecru.
Exactly, and that's going to give your quilt a slightly. If you're using white, it might give it a slightly duller look to it,
or antique, depending on how you look at it.
That's true, but you have to be aware of that when you choose your batting. If you're doing white work and you want it to stay very white, you might want to use a bleach.
This is an example of the difference in the colors that, like we were talking about.
Absolutely.
Right.
And now these actually happen to be this is the bamboo. This is a 50% bamboo and 50% organic
And that's
cotton.
kind of interesting story about the bamboo. It's kind of like you're going green, if you will.
It is, you know, and so as is cotton in some ways. Cotton has a reputation of being hard on the earth to grow it, whereas bamboo can be grown without pesticides or fertilizers. So it's a bit more earth-friendly than the cotton itself is, but they are all renewable, which makes them, you know, green in their own ways.
Certainly just as soft, isn't it?
It's beautiful,
amazing.
And it's also got a scrim in it. If you feel that you tug it, it doesn't.
What
it
do
doesn't
you mean
pull.
by scrim?
Well, scrim is a little piece of almost like a mesh that is woven into. It's not woven. It's actually into this batting, but it's actually its own sheet.
Oh,
so
that holds it together.
It helps hold it together. This has also been needle punched. So it's punched, and the scrim gives it stability so that if you're machine quilting, it will stay firm in your machine. If you're especially a professional, long arm folks really like a scrim because it doesn't tear. And it doesn't tear in the machine. You might consider blends. This is a 60% cotton and 40% polyester. It also has a scrim in it. And what it does is it gives the best properties of both fibers to the batting. So you get
60-40.
60-40. This is beautiful for machine work.
Oh, okay. Let's take a look at pillows now. How in the world, I just go pick a pillow foam frame, but it's hard sometimes to know, do I want a stiff one? Do I want one that's real floppy? How do you know what you want?
Well, I think you really need to consider that up front. Are you going to use it as a decorative element, or are you going to use it to, you know, make yourself comfortable on the couch, or wherever you're going to use it? So you're going to want to consider, how do you want your pillow to feel, and then what do you want it to look like? And what I mean by that is, we have a couple of more natural options. We have a feather pillow here.
Feather.
So this is feather and down filled pillow. What that does is, this is a designer technique that some folks still like, that you can set it with a V and it will actually hold the shape. And this is bamboo. Bamboo will also hold the shape.
Oh, I see.
This is a more fluffier style pillow. The bamboo is a little bit flatter and kind of dense. So if you give those a feel, you can feel that it has a little bit less give to it than the feather.
Okay.
And now, if you're considering polyesters, there are a couple of different polyesters that you might want to look at. The Helm Elegance pillow is an upscale pillow. It has a microgel fiber filling in it. It's polyester filled, but it has a very soft feeling to it. If you run your fingers on it, you can feel the fibers running together. So that's your real high-end pillow. This is your everyday, it's comfortable, it's soft. This is the soft touch.
Use it.
Yes.
Enjoy it.
Again, it's polyester, has a lot of life to it, it springs back. It's a little less dense than this one. And then we have a firm pillow. This would be your crafter's choice. You can feel that it's got a lot firmer.
It's going to maintain that professionally made look for a long time.
Exactly. Like these are really great if you're doing like a needlework pillow and you really want to keep that needlework straight and stiff. You don't want it to rumple when you're when it's out. So this is a great choice for that.
Okay. Now we've talked about pillows and home decor, but you know some people like to make dolls and stuffed animals and things, and you've even got products that you recommend for those, don't you?
Absolutely. It's actually where we started. And so let me walk you through a couple of options, because again, if you have to really consider the end result that you want to achieve.
Like this one's quite stiff, so we want something that'll really pack in there, don't we?
Right, and I actually just talked to a teddy bear maker who said she really particularly liked the packability of the corn Fiberfill. This is a PLA corn fiber called Naturefill, and it actually has a feeling very similar to polyester, so it's a familiar texture. And yet it has a really great packability. So,
and could these animals like this be washed a lot? Can you run them through the washer, or should you not?
These are more your designer. These are your designer things. I would recommend spot cleaning if you needed to.
Okay. Whereas this one, compare it.
Well, this is a doll. This doll is made with Polyfill. Polyfill is 100% polyester. It's the premium Polyfill.
And it's probably what most of us know about the most.
That's the truth. It's the flagship product. And it has actually 25% more filling power than competitive brands. So it does go a long way. It can be packed softly or firmly. In this, so when you're in your high-end decorative dolls, or you want a firm feeling, then a doll like this which does very well with Polyfill.
This is very soft.
This is a siliconized polyester fiber. And so the Soft Touch gives it that really super squishy feeling, especially that the little
kids
children
would
and
like.
babies love this extra soft and squishy.
And then this has the pellets, and I can feel those. That's what you recognize.
Yes, the pellets give it some posability, and it gives it its ability to kind of seat itself.
Conform.
Yeah, it doesn't fall over. And what's nice about the pellets is it can be combined with the Fiberfill, so that if you have a doll that you want to remain soft, but you want to have it, sit on a shelf upright, then you could weight its bottom with poly pellets.
Well, it's interesting to know, and there's so many wonderful products on the market. I appreciate you telling us a little bit about each one and helping us to make better choices.
Well, I hope it works out.